since 1971.
It's WRIF Detroit. It's going to be a month from now, the Rod Stewart Small Faces concert. Already it's sold out. What we'll do is, for the next month, we'll give away 10 pair a week for 3 weeks, and then 20 pair the last week before the concert.
The home of rock and roll throughout the 70s and into the 80s.
JJ and the Morning Crew. Ken Calvin, Arthur Penhallow, Steve Costan,
and Karen Savelly.
Detroit's only real rock and roll radio station in the decade of the 90s.
For the Riff Rockers out of Roush Racing in Livonia. That, of course, White Zombie, Nightcrawlers, Thunder Kiss 65. They'll be in concert with Pantera. August 10th out of the Palace of Auburn Hills. Check that out. Also in there, new rock from Sponge and some Tedley. Ooh, nothing but good stuff here on Detroit's home of it all. 101 WRIF. Hey, the Riff.
For nearly 50 years, we are, have been, and continue to be 101 WRIF.
In Detroit radio, there's Riff, and then there's everyone else.
Baby.
Welcome to the podcast, The History of WRIF. I am Mike Staff, and I'm so happy to be doing this podcast. I spent 14 years on the Riff from 1992 to 2006, and joining the conversation today is one of the most recognizable names and voices in all of Detroit rock radio history, Karen Savelly.
Jeez, thank you.
Thank you. Well, we were just talking like 40, almost 45 years in Detroit radio.
Almost made it.
That is incredible. Does it blow your mind when you think about that?
Yeah, it's where did the time go?
Yeah.
A blink of the eye.
I know. So you grew up in the Detroit area?
Yes.
Where did you grow up?
I was born in Detroit. There was a hospital called, I can't remember, Women's Hospital or something down around near Tiger Stadium, actually. My family lived in Detroit. Then we moved to Farmington, and we moved to West Bloomfield when I was going into high school. It was like no man's land then. And I graduated from West Bloomfield. Graduated from Wayne State. I've kind of like never left.
Yeah. So what is your degree in from Wayne State?
Liberal arts.
Did you?
But I did take radio.
You did.
TV, film. I took all of this, speech, everything.
When did you know you wanted to be in radio?
Probably in my, I'd say my sophomore year there.
Of college?
Yes.
And was there a Wayne State radio station?
Yes, WAYN, which I was very active in.
You were?
Yeah, there were about 4 women who worked there and about 30 guys.
Right.
And I also worked at WDET. I did the news there.
When you were going to college?
Yep.
Wow, cool.
I even worked at W4 when I was going to college.
Wow, excellent. I
wasn't done yet. And it was interesting the way I got my job. One of the women that worked at WAYN with me, she was about to get married. Her husband was a disc jockey in Cleveland, and there was their friend, Ira Lipson, Ira J. Cook, he called himself on the air, had just started up a new radio station, W4, as a rock station. He needed a woman for weekends, so Jan, my friend, went and did weekends. But she was getting married to Chuck, who lived in Cleveland, and Jan said, take a tape over to Ira, because I'm going to be leaving the job, and they need a woman to do weekends. Back then, a chick. And I went in, the tape was horrible. But I got the job, and as soon as the day she got married was my first day on the air.
Wow.
So
your first job in commercial radio was at W4?
At W4, yep.
Wow. What year was that?
72.
That was the year W4 came on?
I'm not sure if W4 came on in 71 or 72, but I started in 72.
As a part-time weekender?
Yes.
And it was kind of rare, though, for women to be a DJ. Most of the time, women were like newscasters and things like that, right?
Right. I mean, there were a couple of them that were influential to me. Ann Christ over at ABX, Barbara Holliday at RIF. But I don't know. It was just it was like the times, you know. It was the late '60s, early '70s. The country was in turmoil, and the music scene here in Detroit was incredible.
It was.
And that's mostly why I got into it. But I found out in college that I loved speech classes. I loved all my classes, except for the ones that I didn't have, like language and stuff like that, foreign language.
Oh, you're right. So did you ever get full-time at W4 then?
Yeah, I started there in December of '72, and the following March, I can't remember who left, but somebody left and they offered me full-time. So I was going to school full-time. I was ready to graduate, and I was working full-time, the 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift.
Nice.
So I took a lot of no-dos, and I managed to graduate and keep the job for a while.
That's great. And then how long were you at W4?
4 years, and then I went to WABX for 3, and then I went to WRIF in 1979, and I was there until 88.
Now, what led from W4 to WABX?
Back then, it was funny. It was pretty much, if you wanted to switch jobs or whatever, you just kind of called the program director and you said, you know what, I'd really like to work at your radio station or something like that. And so I decided, I don't know, things weren't going that great at W4. And I decided to make a switch over to ABX. It was very casual back then.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And now ABX was like the original rock station in Detroit. It was very much underground, right?
Yes, I used to listen to that when I was in high school.
Right. And then but by that time, when W4 was a direct competitor, didn't ABX get a little bit more mainstream?
Sure did, yeah.
And a little bit more programmed?
And it was more mainstream when I was there. But it was a lot of fun.
Who did you work with at ABX?
Oh, boy. John O'Leary. ABX was Dennis Frawley. Oh, man, I've worked with so many people. Jim Sauté, Jerry Lubin. Our program director was Bob Birch. Al Wilson was our general manager.
Now, was Costan at ABX when you were at ABX? That was after you, yeah. And then Calvert?
Yeah, Ken was there when I was there. It was so interchangeable. Like I said, it was so casual.
Right.
That you never knew.
Right, right. And tell me about music at the time. What was going on when you're at ABX musically?
It was interesting because it was kind of like when the transition in music was happening. I mean, that kind of happened when I was at W4. But like the Foreigners, the Boston, the Van Halen, Genesis in its more mainstream form, these were the bands that were becoming the popular bands. Heart, REO Speedwagon, kind of the, like you said, the more mainstream groups.
And the music scene in Detroit in the early
awesome.
70s. I mean, when you have MC5 kind of leading the way, right? And then the Rationales, and I mean, what other bands?
And then came the Romantics.
The Romantics.
That was a lot of
huge.
fun. The Rockets. We had a great time with them.
Yeah, and Seeger.
Of course.
You can't forget about Bob.
Of course.
And then what led to you going to RIF?
I know Tom Bender had tried to hire me there, but he wanted to offer me the 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift. I was working the 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift at ABX, and I said no.
Which is one of the best shifts in radio. It's such a good shift.
And I don't know how many, it was maybe 6 months to a year later, he called me again, and they said, look, we're going to bring in Calvert, we're going to bring in JJ in the morning crew, and we want you, and you can have 6 to 10. I said, I'm there.
Done. Now, was Fred Jacobs the PD and Tom was the general manager?
No, Tom was the PD at that time.
Okay.
Yes. Fred came a little bit later.
Got it.
But yeah, Tom was there. Jay Hoker was the general manager. And I always remember, you know, our place was near Broadcast House at 10 Mile and Northwestern. And just before I quit at ABX, Jay Hoker sat me down in the Howard Johnsons across Northwestern Highway there. And he said, I'll give you $1,000 if you go in there and you tell them you're quitting today. I said, okay.
$1,000.
Heck yeah, back then.
Heck
oh,
yeah.
My gosh.
Wow. And that was the beginning of what I like to say was the first real all-star RIF lineup with JJ in the morning crew in the morning, Calvert in middays, Arthur in the afternoons, and then you at night. Like, that's hard to beat.
That was a lot of fun. And Carl Coffey was...
And Carl was doing 10 to 2?
Yeah.
And you remember who was doing overnights?
No.
There was like a rotating.
There were different people.
Yeah, a lot of different people. That's awesome. Tom, so talk about Tom and Fred and how they kind of worked together to create that kind of that new riff with that all-star lineup and a lot of research, and it was just kind of a new era of radio, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Rock radio?
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know how they did it, but they did it.
They had the vision. They
Yeah.
definitely had the vision.
Tom Bender has such vision. He is. Well, he and Dick Kernan are responsible for my whole career. It's the way I feel.
Wow. So tell me about Kernan. Now, Dick Kernan, for our listeners, Dick was actually the first program director of the RIF.
Yes.
And he has spent the last 40-plus years at Specs Howard as the vice
Yes.
president of Specs Howard.
Yes. He knows more about radio than any human on earth, I think.
That's true.
Great guy. Like I said, he and Tom, I am forever grateful to them for believing in me. I really am.
Well, and they have high character, which not everyone in radio does, let's say. So when they said something, you can count on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Coming up.
When I got to RIF, we were still in the trailers, and that was the pits. And people would break into the Channel 7 broadcast house grounds, and there was no air conditioning, so you'd have to open the window in the studio, and people would be sticking their heads in there while you're on the air.
The history of WRIF.
Now. The Slave Market presents a new record and tape section called Wax and Tracks. Some of the newest and best-selling albums out today by Cat Stevens, John Lennon, Rod Stewart, Humble Pie, Jeff Beck, Van Morrison, and many others are available at Wax and Tracks.
Legendary personalities from Detroit's iconic WRIF.
Thank you, Detroit. Thank you, sir. Coolness aside, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you, Rudy. Say it! Say it!
Thank you and stuff.
With Mike Staff and our special guest, Karen Savelly.
So let's talk about when you first get to RIF, and we got this all-star lineup that's going on, and you got the vision and the research behind it. The other thing that RIF was doing at the time, which was kind of new to rock radio, was the marketing push behind it. And and RIF got the Remarkable Mouth commercial.
That was awesome. Unfortunately, a lot of people thought that was me, and then when they met me, oh no,
That's a
not
tough
you.
standard right there. Could you feel the momentum building, though?
Oh, it was awesome. It was just great. It was. It was on top of the world. It was really, really fun.
And musically, what was RIF doing that ABX and W4 wasn't doing at the time? Do you remember?
They were all pretty much the same, I think. It's just that we had, like you said, the marketing. The other thing that they had when we all got there, they made this RIF music guide, this beautiful magazine, which I wish I knew where mine was. I would have brought it. But it had all the jocks. It had all our pictures with rock stars.
Wow.
It had pictures of the venues around town. It had floor plans of the venues.
Great idea.
It was really. I'm surprised you haven't seen one.
I haven't.
Whoa! Well, I got to find one.
Yeah. So was that a monthly magazine, or it was just like
it was just a one-time, and it was beautiful. It was like Life magazine.
that people would hang on to, because if they're going to the concert,
and people
there it
have.
is.
I mean, people have given them to me all these years later.
Wow, that's awesome. And that was just so different.
Yep.
At the time.
Yeah.
Every radio station had their call letters on a bumper sticker, but RIF took it to the next level.
Well, but the interesting thing was that when I got to RIF, we were still in the trailers, and that was the pits. If you walked funny on the floor, the record would skip, because we played records at the time.
Right, of course.
And people would break into the Channel 7 broadcast house grounds, and there was no air conditioning, so you'd have to open the window in the studio, and people would be sticking their heads in there while you're on the air.
That is so funny.
And then Tom, once again, with his vision, had the plan for the Ultimate Studios, which the building was gorgeous.
So you went from the trailer into the best studios in Detroit.
Place, yeah. But we all still look the same.
Right.
Channel 7 people used to come over and kind of get a kick out of how the hippies.
That's what you were considered at the time.
Oh, sure.
Because Channel 7 or ABC TV radio owned the RIF at the time.
Which was great.
Yeah. That was a lot of power behind it. And I know with the Remarkable Mouth commercial, it was easy for Channel 7 in Detroit to be playing that commercial nonstop, and it was non-stop, wasn't it?
It's a great commercial.
It is a great commercial, and it's been relived a couple of times since. Of course, Karen Newman a little bit more recently.
Right, that was really good too.
Talk about being a woman in radio back in especially in the 70s and 80s like that, where there's usually not a lot of women, but you were more than a trendsetter. I mean, you hit you were super influential. And was it just something that happened, or was it calculated?
It happened. It just happened.
Yeah.
I went to college with the ambition to be a teacher. And in order to get into the School of Education at Wayne State, you had to take speech class. I was pretty active in journalism in high school, and I'd thought of doing something like that, but I wanted to be a teacher, and I was afraid to take a speech class, so I took it first quarter freshman at Wayne State, and I loved it. I loved it. So I started taking more and more speech classes as a freshman and a sophomore, and sitting around in the union or something, some friends of mine said, they're starting a new class. It's called Intro to Radio, TV, and Film. You should do it because you've taken every speech class. So I did, and that led me to the radio production class, and the TV production, and this and that. And my radio production class professor was on the radio in Detroit. His name was Dan Logan. Actually, his son is still in the area. He's in a band, and I stay in Facebook touch with him. But Dan Logan was the biggest influence in college for me because he was really tough and really fair. He said it like it was, and he did not say, "Oh, we got this chick in the class, and I'm not gonna take her seriously." He did.
Were you one of the only chicks in the class?
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Oh yeah, the women, I don't know, but I just loved it, and I loved music, and it kind of fit together. Well,
and so you go into this male-dominated industry, but did you always feel like one of the guys? Like were you always feeling comfortable?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
And you always had everyone's respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. None of the Me Too thing for me. I mean, nothing.
Well, it was a way different time.
Yeah.
And it was just fun. It was probably just fun to hang out with everyone. And
it was great, and it was different because we did hang out. John O'Leary, he has a lot of old photographs, and my parents lived over on Lake Michigan near Muskegon for about 30 years, and before they moved there permanently, I used to go up there on weekends with friends, and John posted some things on Facebook of pictures of all of us at their house, and he wrote, "This is when radio was cool, when we actually liked each other and used to hang out together." And we did.
Yeah. I see all those pictures. I mean, on everyone's Facebook, everyone
fun.
Has them. So talk about your relationship with Bob Seger. When was the first time you met Bob?
Oh, brother, that was ages ago. Really got into it when he did the Live Bullet. Because Bob's always wanted to make sure that all the disc jockeys were recognized. And I remember we got to stand on the stage for that concert.
Wow. At Cobo.
Yeah. That was, I don't know, he's just always been great. I mean, I've run into him at Kroger and stuff. And he gives me a hug, It's like, hey, how you doing?
That's funny. But he still recognizes DJs that way. At least
absolutely.
you guys. They just named a road after him, and again, he recognized you guys.
Yeah, he wanted us out there, which was really cool.
And Bob was a national figure at that point. I mean, when Live Bullet came out, he was
getting there.
He was getting there. But he still did a lot of shows in Detroit, so you'd see him a lot in Detroit.
Well, those were in the earlier days. I didn't really know him then. I mean, I probably did see him a couple times at some of the clubs. There were so many clubs around town.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in radio. But from like the beginning of being in radio, we knew him because he was our local guy
Yeah.
that we wanted to do good.
Everyone was rooting for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was such a different, well, it was such a different world, but such a different industry, the music industry at the time. It seems to me like it was probably easier to make connections and friends with bands that would come through back then.
Right.
Because you had a little bit more access to them.
Absolutely. The record promoters, they wanted to get these, I mean, these bands, Queen, Foreigner, Boston, Kiss, everybody, they weren't popular then, and the promoters wanted them, us to play their records, so they really worked it.
Yeah. So then they would come through the radio station, and you guys
They would bring them into the radio station for interviews and things like that. Yeah.
Who were some of your favorite interviews back then?
Oh, brother. I don't know. I don't remember.
And I think an easier question to ask you would be, is there anyone that you didn't interview that you would have liked to?
No, but you know what? I think some of the nicest people, most of the people were very nice. Journey, the guys in Journey were just wonderful. They were just like, I mean, we had softball games with them and everything. They were just like, I hate to say it, normal people, but
right.
It was like they're not stars or anything like that. But I did get to have dinner with Freddie Mercury and the rest of Queen. I won't say that I had a deep conversation with him or anything because there were a lot of people there, but we went to Mario's in Detroit. I remember that. That was a long time ago.
Great memory. So when you're watching the Queen movie,
oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Good movie.
Yeah, really good job. So what is it about Detroit music fans that make them so special?
Loyalty. I think Detroit in general, I think that's why disc jockeys and TV personalities and musicians, I think Detroit is very loyal, and it's like a huge small town.
It is too.
I don't know, it's just, you feel comfortable no matter where you are. Usually.
Yeah, right.
But that's the whole thing, and I think that was, the success of us jocks. And, sports figures and things, not that we're on a par with sports figures, but I think that the people of Detroit are very loyal and good people. Basically just good people.
Well, I think the fact that Ford Field will still sell out shows that Detroiters are loyal.
I want to see Tom Brady.
Right, yeah, exactly. Tom Wright was the manager of the Grandy Ballroom, and he was also good friends with Pete Townsend, and he was the official photographer for The Who. And he had a really interesting observation about Detroit. He said Detroit's heartbeat was on an 8-hour shift. And it just kind of thumped that way, and the people would be used to working really hard and then playing really, really hard.
Yeah.
And he thought that kind of transcended into that type of spirit in arenas and everywhere else there was going to be music. Yeah, just kind of the way that we're raised in Detroit.
Well, I know Roger Daltrey has a soft spot for Detroit.
Yeah, for sure. Have you had experiences with The Who then?
Yeah. Gee, I think so.
It's funny how there's so many and they blend together.
Yeah. I did interview Roger Daltrey. He was great. Cool guy. Gee. I'm trying to think. I know that we all went to the Who concert when they played the Silverdome.
In 82.
Yeah.
Coming up.
And that was when the Dick the Bruiser Band, they had an album out.
Right.
We used to have concerts once a week down on Hart Plaza. They were huge. I mean, you had all the people from all the businesses and offices coming to watch. And we had great bands like The Look, Bittersweet Alley, Toby Red, all these great local bands. Right. And yes, they packed the house.
Get up, Detroit. It's a new day in the Motor City with JJ and the Morning Crew on the Riff.
When you woken up for good, but you want to stay in bed. Now you're staring at the ceiling, there's a pounding in your head.
history of WRIF. The podcast is brought to you by the Specs Howard School of Media Arts. The history of WRIF.
Join me, Steve Costan, this Friday night as the Riff rocks at the Hayloft West.
Legendary personalities from Detroit's iconic WRIF.
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, November 15th, 16th, and 17th, 8 p.m. at the Easttown, Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. And, yes,
with Mike Staff and our special guest, Karen Savelly.
So let's talk about some of the DJs on Riff. Let's talk about JJ and the Morning Crew. What do you suppose it was about JJ and the Morning Crew that resonated so much with the Detroit rock radio listeners?
I guess I think that they were relatable. I think George, or the Morning Crew,
right?
He's from the East Side. He's a relatable guy.
Mm-hmm.
Jim's a good counterpart to that.
Yeah,
a good
he is.
Contrast.
Yeah, the balance.
I love him. I got to see him at the Bob Seger thing.
Mm.
They blended into the community. The things that were funny about the community they were able to express. I don't know. They just seemed. But they were funny. I mean, they were good.
They were laugh out loud funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's something when you're from Detroit, you can make jokes about Detroit that someone who's not from Detroit better
Correct.
not come here and do that.
Correct.
And I think that those guys took advantage of those liberties a little bit.
Yeah.
How about Calvert? Calvert, you talk about someone
Ken.
who's a relatable guy. I don't know if there's another DJ that relates.
Well,
more
it's
than
funny.
Ken.
When I was working at W4, I had been there a few months, and I always remember this guy walking in. He had a hat on. He had really hair, down to his shoulders. And he comes walking in, and he had this great voice, and he wanted a job, and it was Ken. And he got the job, but, man, I have some great pictures of those early W4 days. But I just thought his voice was wonderful. He reminded me of a jock who had been at Riff, Paul Greiner. They sounded a lot alike. And Ken, I mean, that was it. That was the beginning of his thing. He just took off from there.
What about Arthur P?
I love him.
It's funny, all these guys say the same thing about you.
Arthur's great.
He's got a big heart.
He does. We had some funny crossovers, too.
Yeah. Art had some really good. That was a good thing for Art to be doing those crossovers.
Yeah.
When you were at Riff, so you got hired in to do 6 till 10.
Yes.
And then somewhere along the lines, you became the midday jock, right?
Yeah, that was a few years in. I bounced around a lot there. I was brought in to do 6 to 10. I did 10 to 2 at night for a while. That would probably be like around 84, 85. And I had my son in 85, and I always remember Michael Mayer was the PD at the time. And I don't know how the configuration happened, but I know that after my son Mike was born, we named him Michael Thomas, and Michael Mayer's name is Michael Thomas Mayer.
Oh, funny.
And he said that he was going to give me the midday shift, so he put out a funny memo back when we had paper memos, and it said, "There's no truth to the rumor that she's getting this gig because she named her kid after me." But, it was right around 85 that I started doing middays, and then things got a little weird, and in 88 I switched.
In 88 you went to CSX.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was before Riff and CSX were sister stations. They were two totally different companies.
Right.
So that was were you at CSX when they signed on?
No, I was there a year after.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think they signed on in 87. But I don't know, things were getting a little strange at Riff. They had Lynn Woodison and I doing the morning show. which was very interesting. And Jim Edelman, who works on Under the Radar Michigan now with Tom Dalton, he was our producer.
Wow. So it must have been when Calvert went to Wheels. Is that what happened? And Lynn stayed at Riff.
I don't know what happened to Ken. I don't know where he went. He went somewhere.
I think it was Wheels. Yeah. So you found yourself doing the morning show.
With Lynn.
With Lynn, which was totally
crazy.
Novel.
It was crazy, yeah.
Right. How long did that last? I don't remember.
It was for, I think it was like 3 months. It was for a summer. But I got a call from Dick Kernan in '88, and he said, Tom Bender wants to talk to you. Can you meet at Hogan's on Telegraph? I said, yep. So we met, and Tom said, we want you over here at CSX. We'll give you middays. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So there you go. Tom Bender and Dick Kernan.
Yeah. Wow, isn't that funny?
Did it again.
Yeah. Small community of people for sure.
Right.
So tell me about the Riff block parties. You remember the Riff block parties?
What were the block
Well,
parties?
as I understand it, they would take over downtown areas and have bands come in. And
well, what we did when I was there, and that was when the Dick the Bruiser Band, they had an album out.
That's right.
We used to have concerts once a week down on Hart Plaza.
Okay.
And
weekly. Interesting.
They were huge. I mean, you had all the people from all the businesses and offices coming to watch.
Wow.
And yeah, we had great bands like The Look, Bittersweet Alley, Toby Red, all these great local bands.
Right.
And yes, they packed the house I think they were Tuesday afternoons.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
That's such an odd day to have a party like that,
It worked. It was great.
When you look back on Riff, overall, because Riff is almost 50.
I don't know. It's always been a strong, the call letters, I mean, across the country, it's always been, it's been like WMMS. It's been like KMET, only it's bigger.
Right. Well, and it's always been consistent, which is really important. And I know that people would always say that they would travel outside of Detroit. They might drive down to Florida for spring break or something, and they know they're home when they turn on the Riff.
Right.
And it sounds different.
And it has been consistent.
Like rock sounds different through 101.1 FM in Detroit than it does in other cities for some reason.
Doesn't hurt that the signal is awesome.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's been consistent. In that brand that was put on back in the 70s.
Do you remember when the music business became more of a business than just a fun industry to be in, when it really started to turn corporate?
Yeah, well, kind of. It seems like when they deregulated the ownership and companies were buying up lots of radio stations and TV stations, the dollar became the bottom line.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, it changed.
Well, yeah. Well, they all of a sudden, these huge companies had so much more at risk than just one radio station or one frequency, where they had to. Yeah, that's exactly what did it.
And the corporate world, I mean, money talks.
It does. Yeah, it totally does. Well, I think about, I remember seeing this ticket from the Grandy Ballroom, and it was The Who, Rush, and Janis Joplin for $5.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hang out at the Grandy?
I only went to the Grandy once, because I was kind of young. It's like the thing where my mother wouldn't let me go to Woodstock either.
Yeah.
But I went to the East Town every weekend. Every weekend. I was in college then, and we went every single weekend to the East Town. Saw some amazing acts there.
National
Derek
acts?
and the Dominoes,
Oh, really?
Mad Dogs and Englishmen with Joe Cocker. And when they came in, we're driving to the East Town. Eric Clapton's playing. Okay, well, here comes Eric Clapton, Derek and the Dominoes. Oh, yeah, we're going to go see Joe Cocker. Here comes Joe Cocker with the whole entourage of Mad Dogs and Englishmen. there were several concerts like that.
Wow.
That was fun. I loved going to the East Town.
Where exactly was East Town?
Somewhere on the east side.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never drove.
That's funny. That's funny. How many people did it seat? Was it
was
big venue?
Like one of the, it was like the Grande Riviera. It was a theater type place.
Okay.
It was like the State Theater, something like that. But the floor was sticky like the Grande, and they had the light show, and
yeah, it's cool.
It was pretty psychedelic.
Yeah. Do you think that if you were to begin a career in radio today, that you would be able to have the same type of career?
Nope.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest reasons would be?
I don't know. Back then, everything was more relaxed. I hate to say this. I don't know if personalities are that important anymore. Maybe for the morning. But listeners still think that the thing that's nice is that listeners still feel that it's important. Like Doug Codell, I'll go somewhere, he was huge at RIF. Go somewhere with him and everyone knows him.
Right.
It's like I said, that loyalty, and I think that people still want to be loyal, but I think the corporate doesn't emphasize the personality as much anymore.
Right.
I really don't.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely true for radio nationally.
And that's the cool thing about RIF, because everybody is so distinct there.
Right.
You got Dave and Chuck, the Freak, Ann Carlini, an angel of the air.
No question.
Meltdown, I love him. Scott, Screaming Scott, I love him.
Yeah, big personalities.
Exactly,
and
that's so refreshing. That's great.
It is, and it is one of the things that's unique about RIF nationally is that most radio stations don't have that kind of heritage with the personalities that RIF has.
Yep.
Coming up.
The worst interview I ever did was at RIF.
Oh, really? Who was that?
Van Halen.
Oh, really? Dave?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them were in the studio with you?
Yeah.
And was it?
One of my best friends had gotten married the night before, and it was a Sunday, and that's the only day they could come in. So I go in there, and I'm not feeling great anyway, and they were just rude and awful.
Wow. Do you remember what year that was?
Oh, man, no. It was probably 1980,
okay,
I would say. And they brought strippers and all this stuff.
This is the history of WRIF.
Memories of the nation's favorites.
The podcast.
Did I miss anything? What about RIF can you say that I may have missed?
The worst interview I ever did was at RIF.
Oh, really? Who was that?
Van Halen.
Oh, really? Dave?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them were in the studio with you?
Yeah.
And was it?
One of my best friends had gotten married the night before, and it was a Sunday, and that's the only day they could come in. And Karen, you can do the interview. And I'm like, Denise got married last night. I can't. So I go in there, and I'm not feeling great anyway, and they were just rude and awful.
Wow. You remember what year that was?
Oh, man, no. When did Denise get married? I don't remember.
Early
probably,
on in Van Halen's career, though, 78, 79, 80?
It was probably 1980,
okay,
I would say. And they brought strippers and all this stuff. And back then, ABC owned RIF, and we were not allowed to touch the equipment. The disc jockeys.
Really?
Yes. The only thing we could do was turn the mic on and off. I think later we got to control the volume, but in the interview situation, I was not allowed to touch anything, so they had to bring an engineer in.
Interesting.
And all the engineers were very cool. And I remember this one engineer we had, Jim Bob. He got stuck coming in on Sunday and recording the Van Halen interview. And he was sitting back in his studio just like dying laughing because they were giving me such a hard time. They were. I mean, it was the craziest thing. So,
you have that on tape?
Maybe Jim Bob does. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably somewhere in an archive, a RIF archive.
Right. That's funny. So on a regular,
and I always loved Van Halen. I was so bummed out when that happened.
And do you continue to have a little grudge against Van Halen because of that?
No.
That's a good memory to have, though.
Yeah.
So when you were doing an air shift, you weren't controlling your own studio?
Somehow I just remember we were only allowed to turn the mic on and off.
Boy, that is interesting.
Yeah.
That's the first I've ever heard
It was
of
a
that.
union thing.
Right, sure. I get that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Any other really good or bad interviews?
For the most part, all of them were good.
Yeah. Bands are gracious when they come in.
They're great.
They're excited, yeah.
Yep.
Well, Karen, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I hope this was helpful.
Well, it is, and thank you for, honestly, an unbelievable career.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. When you're retired, you kind of wonder,
right?
What did I do?
Well, radio.
Did I do anything?
Well, it goes in the ether and it's gone. But, right. I think it really does stay in people's hearts, And I think that's true about you in Detroit.
Well, thank you.
So thank you.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
And congratulations on all your success, too.
Thank you. It's been great.
Next time.
Tell me about your relationship with Bob Seger.
I don't know Bob that well. I remember one of the Penhallow weddings. I think it was number 14. I'm not sure, but we ended up hanging out for a couple hours as it got late and things got a little looser. And other things. We had some mutual friends, so we'd end up at some parties together.
Yeah.
He was always a great guy.
Steve Costin.
Who are some of your favorite interviews? You've interviewed a lot of people.
Yeah. One of my best ones was that I was really proud of was Bowie.
What year?
It was around 90-ish. Live on the telephone. Back in those days, and it was 15 minutes long.
Which is a long interview.
Afternoon drive, pretty much. It was 10 after 6 till about 6:25 or whatever the heck it was. We got into all kinds of stuff. We talked about Stevie Ray Vaughan, because Stevie Ray Vaughan was in town the same night.
The history of WRIF. The podcast is brought to you by the Specs Howard School of Media Arts.